Let's talk about the markets in a couple of minutes then, Mark. And let's start with Japan, actually, because we've had this Japanese inflation data out, which seems to have increased confidence in markets that we are going to see an end to yield curve control and the negative interest rates policy. But I'm sure the last time we checked in on this question, Mark, you were talking about whether the BOJ had missed the boat, or the market asking that question at least. So what's your latest thinking on Japan?
I think they have missed the boat in terms of the obvious time to do this. I still think the BOJ wants to remove negative rates, and I think they will. But I think that ultimately it's not going to be the start of a hiking cycle. The BOJ will probably raise rates just into positive territory in 2024. Whether that happens in 2 steps or whether they do 25 basis points in 1 step is under debate. My suspicion is it'll be over 2 steps, and they'll want to do it sooner rather than later because they know it's going to be hard to do that when the Fed starts cutting rates. So I do think the BOJ will get the move soon. I think the inflation story helps them this morning, and that is getting people excited about the yen trade again. Remember, the most consensus trade to start the year in FX was short dollar yen. It has worked out terribly, but people are starting to get back on that bandwagon. I think it's ultimately a trade that will disappoint again later on this year.
OK, but this has to start before the Fed makes its move on rates, or it's not going to happen?
I think it's more likely they want to go before the Fed starts cutting to kind of confuse the messaging. And that's why I think that, that there's some impetus for a lower dollar yen over the next couple of months. But I don't think it's a trade that's sustainable kind of long term. I think ultimately the yen weakens in the crosses.
OK. Within the next 24 hours, we get a rate decision from the RBNZ, and the expectation seems to be for a hold, but there is the possibility, just a tail risk, of a hike. What are you expecting?
People are getting really excited about this one because they've been on hold for ages. Central banks are meant to be cutting everywhere, and now there's a possibility they might hike again. Reality, I put the probability of a hike less than 10%, maybe even more like 5%. I don't think they'll hike just yet. Yes, it's true their inflation expectations have been going up, but growth has been slowing. And I think it will be a strange message after holding for so long to suddenly hike tomorrow. So I think no change.